Hi, welcome to this episode of the Gibraltar Business Podcast, which, as usual, is brought to you by the GFSB and sponsored by Gibraltar International Bank. It's produced behind the scenes by Motion and Barton Solutions. Thank you. For this week's episode, we're going to be looking at AI and the technology and the revolution that's happened in the last 2 years, certainly, and talking to two local entrepreneurs and business people who are using it at different levels in their business. So I'm joined by Scott Simmons from Legal Balance and Vanessa Byrne from OTWO.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me on the episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the benefit of anyone listening, can you tell me a bit more about Legal Balance?
Yeah, so at Legal Balance, we are a toolbox for turning lawyers into rainmakers. So what we do is we give lawyers the tips, the tools, the techniques to get out into the marketplace, give great advice, and win more work.
Hipper, you've done that before.
Very regularly.
And Vanessa, what are your thoughts?
OTWO magazine, it's a monthly magazine focused on sustainability, climate change, anything that's got to do with protecting the environment. We also organise some events. So we've got the Eco Festival, that's a yearly event that we do. And we do organise some bicycle events as well. So World Bicycle Day and just anything to promote sustainability.
Seen it, you don't stop, no balance.
Me encanta. You can see that I like my job, no?
Absolutely.
We connected last week at one of the careers fair that happened, and actually I call it Vanessa saying, "Look, I'm doing an episode next week on AI." I said, "No, but this isn't my area."
Never ever have I spoken about it.
Why I wanted you on the show as well, and I think Scott and we've connected a lot of times off camera to discuss AI and how you use it at work. I thought it was a really interesting thing to get two people together, one who is a bit more advanced in the use of AI and someone who may be trying to experimenting or using it already, to kind of compare your experiences for the benefit of anyone listening as well. I've got my own experiences and my own views, but it's always good to kind of demystify and open things up. The objective, I guess, of our conversation is to try and bust some of those myths and maybe some of the apprehension that people might have around AI. And also, by sharing your examples, we can empower listeners to go, actually, I'm going to give that a go, or that's what scares me as well, So before we start, what have been your experiences so far from, let's say, when you've first started to see that generative AI, which is basically what we'll be talking about today?
So, and Vanessa, you're going to give a similar response, aren't you? But our first experience was ChatGPT. And it came out on 30th of November 2022, and I just thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to see what this is about. And I just started playing with this thing, and I was really fascinated by what it was doing. And before I knew it, I was then online on different social media platforms, finding out how I could use it a little bit better and make it a bit more human and better responses. And we then, at the time, we have a newsletter that goes out that I write, and I was really struggling to do it once a month. With everything else that we had going on, I was struggling to do it once a month. I had all of these ideas, I had all these topics, I had the kind of things I wanted to write down, but I just didn't have the time. Writing a sort of newsletter would take 2-3 something hours to do as I first drafting it. And so I thought, well, why don't I just see what ChatGPT can help me to do? And I realized over time that I was going to have to put more information in, because the more information you put in, the better the output. And that is, before I knew it, it wasn't just once a month. It was so simple to do 2 a month. So now that's what I do. Every fortnight I do a newsletter, and I've got my ideas. I tell ChatGPT exactly what I want. It does a fantastic first draft. We have put so much time into ChatGPT so that it learns who we are, how I write, my style, that now, 2 years in, I would say sometimes it's 98% there. Most of the time it's between 90 and 95%. But I talk to my clients about this all the time. They love the content. Some of them know it has come via ChatGPT, but it's me, it's how I say things. That was just a huge jumping off point for us.
Do you speak to ChatGPT as if it's a person?
Yes, I do.
You have to be polite as well. And I did.
good.
Thank you so much for your feedback.
Good morning. What can I help with?
Yeah. And there are things that it tells you.
Brilliant. Well done.
I'm exactly the same. I'm like, great work. Now can we do this? And the other one where you can actually speak to it now.
Right.
That's even now I'm like really having, hi, how you doing? And I find myself going, wow, I used to just do that to the cat. Now I'm doing it to generative AI product as well.
I have started speaking to it, but the cat thing has just reminded me. I think one of the first things I asked ChatGPT, I'm quite embarrassed to admit it. I was at home at the time and I opened up my laptop. The first thing I asked it was to do a poem about my two cats. So just to kind of see what came back with, a very basic poem that I had a laugh about. But it just showed that actually it could be creative, and within 2 seconds I had something. How did you?
For me, it was very similar. I mean, I think I started I started with ChatGPT as well, and it was like an email maybe that I had to reply back. But it was a lot of reading back on it and making sure that it knows how I speak, so it's like it's growing with you. It's really weird, but it's like it grows with you, and it learns the way that you speak. You teach it. No, hold on. But I think AI is very much a tool that we need to. I can imagine for your newsletter, you still need to read through it because suddenly it comes up with something that you're thinking, what's this? Yeah. This has got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So it's an awesome tool to have, and it makes life a lot easier and a lot quicker with companies and with businesses, and to be able to alleviate your time for something a bit more important. Because if you're caught up with that newsletter 3-4 hours, those are the 3 or 4 hours that you could be doing something that maybe you've had to park because you haven't had time to do, and then it grows your business, it expands your business a bit further. So it's a really, really important tool to have. But again, it's a tool. Don't let it take over, because then suddenly you'll be calling somebody, Dave instead of David, for example.
ChatGPT, I found that it was very much on content generation, right? So the thing is, that's what I love, what I produce and what I work in. I could see that, wow, it can flex in this area, right? I did some research, obviously, on this. I've been reading a lot about on AI, and I saw a statistic which I think is already out of date, because it was from 2024. A Forbes study said that 15% of small businesses would be using AI. I think it's much more than that, wouldn't you?
You've got to think that more and more businesses are playing around with this thing just to see what it can do. And I think that there is, at the moment, because ChatGPT isn't as simple as write me an article on this subject, because you have to give it more context and tell it how you want it written, and explain to it, give it guidance, and the more you put in, the better the outcome will be. Very, very quickly, people who don't understand just what it can do, when you put the effort in, they lose faith in it, and they go, "Oh, this isn't going to work for me." Right. But you have to put it in. But things like content creation are a great place to start. It's a brilliant place to start. You can go from there, but it is that one where we all know that we should be doing more content, social media, newsletters, emails, all these things. They are such a fantastic place to start, because they are very simple uses of it. And then you can get really clever, much cleverer with it over time. But that starting point, I think, is fantastic for it.
You mentioned getting cleverer or using it in smarter ways over time. That's a big journey for you guys in your business. Can you?
So this is really interesting, because I don't know when it was, whether it was about 18 months ago. We wrote an article and sent it to David, and
it was for the Thrive magazine.
And David came back and he said, "This doesn't sound like you two."
This is AI too.
And it had been 99% ChatGPT, and that was the real eye-opener for us, because at that point we'd been working on building this thing up, but we realised then that it had not gone anywhere close to really sounding like me. So that was when I realised You've got to put more time into this.
Yeah.
You have to build this thing in because that's what it is really. It's just mimicking
It's a tool.
who you are based on what you give it.
Yeah.
So that was when we thought, okay, put more into it and then it can do more for us. And before we knew it, it wasn't just helping us write articles. It's helped us write training courses. It's helped us write guides on certain subjects. We're putting together I go back to the training courses, we're putting together these different training courses and I feed in what I have already got and then I ask it to work on it with me. And I can, and the time it has cut down. Vanessa, you said it's about giving you back that time.
Yeah.
This is a productivity tool. The amount of time it gives you back is unbelievable. What it's enabled us to do.
I mean, it's for everything. It's for contracts, it's for everything. And you think, well, give me a template of a contract and you just give it a bit of an idea on what contract you want to do. And then you just read through it and you tweak it. Then suddenly maybe you see that it's completely out of context. So you put it back and you say, can you fix it? It's completely out of context. Please change this, that. And then it's just suddenly but you have to work with it. It's like, again, I keep on saying, but it is a tool that you have to carry on working with and not something that you can just say, right, it's done and off. Because then suddenly you'll have somebody noting that's not you. Yeah. That's really weird. And you can't lose that human aspect either. I mean, I think that we are individuals and that's what makes everything so cool, right? If you if everybody was just to use this all the time without even giving it a second glance, everyone would just be talking like robots to each other.
Right.
So you need to kind of make it, like I would say, make your ChatGPT, yourself, like your version.
And what you can do is you can upload previous posts, previous articles that you've written, and that feeds all of that information. So for example, in the early days when we were getting ChatGPT to start these articles for us, every single response, because we were writing for the legal profession, every single response came back talking about the billable hour, how you could get more billable hours, right? And we said, and so I went in and I said to it, we don't believe in the billable hour. We believe it is harmful for the legal profession, for clients, for lawyers. And so we do not encourage our legal clients to use the billable hour. And then so we said, so in future, we don't want you to write about that. We want you to write about these subjects as well. Fixed pricing, subscriptions, value pricing, that encourage more collaboration between lawyers and clients. And we gave it a bit more information. We gave it some more context, and that helped it because now we were getting it closer and closer and closer to exactly how we would want it.
That, when you got so much time back, and then in Gibraltar's many legal practices, many lawyers in Gibraltar, as I've mentioned a few times in my last seasons. What was the pushback? Have you had pushback back? Because if you are questioning the billable hour, that is a business model for many of those professions. Yeah, and what are you saying about it? It's dead.
Oh, we sure we want to have this conversation?
Yeah. I guess if you are bidding on time and it just takes less time to look at and draft contracts, then
so we have to think about what AI is doing. AI is taking away the sort of the kind of lower value stuff that we do, that for businesses like, for example, law firms, the real value that a client wants from their lawyer is the advice. Yeah. It's the explanation, it's the understanding of what's going on. Lawyers spend so much time in the drafting and the researching and that in those sorts of areas that actually clients are hesitant about every conversation. And if you spend 5 minutes having a catch up and then you see on the bill that it's 6 minutes having catch up, I'm paying for you. All of these things get moved away because AI can take care of some of the lower value things, and the lawyer can focus on the really high value advice and trusted advisor type of things. Now, yes, is AI going to take away a lot of those hours? Yes. A recent report suggested that possibly within the next 5 years, it will be 57% of a lawyer's time will be taken away by AI. It's then up to lawyers to decide, how they're going to deal with that, because that 57%, if you go out looking for more work, you're just only going to slightly eat up that 57%, because some of that is still the lower value stuff that AI can do. So, but this is about reframing. This is about using AI to give clients better outcomes, and that should be what we're all about. We're all here wanting to give clients better outcomes, and that should be the focus.
This is what we spoke about the accountant at the beginning when the calculator first came along. The accountants were like, hold on, my job's out. That's it. I haven't got a job. But no, there's more accountants. The computer the same, but AI is the same. You're just going to have more time to invest in other things and improve your services in other different ways, rather than spending the time writing the document that you know just needs a bit of tweak because it's a document that you've already done before, because maybe it's a case that you've already done or something like that, you know?
Before we started recording, we were talking about an example of how you've used it to prepare and actually share that.
I mean, look, I'm a busy person. I'm a single mum of 2 children. I love them to bits, and I wouldn't change them for the world. But my time at home is not a time that I can use to like read documents, and I mean, they need your time as well. But you do get flinged a few documents. Oh, you need to read this. This is a really cool read, or you need to read that. And some documents are, I mean, for example, AI in how they're changing smart cities in Madrid. And you're thinking, wow, I really want to read how this is being evolved and how this is being changed. Different sort of documents. And there's this
Notebook LM.
Notebook LM. I used it just yesterday. I uploaded 2 documents, and in the gym this morning, I heard a podcast of the 2 documents that I uploaded, giving me a brief on what those documents were all about. Can you quote those documents? I wouldn't. I would obviously listen to it, think if it's a worthwhile document to kind of evolve further and maybe, research a bit further. But has it... I mean, how long would I have taken to read those documents? I would have been in a quiet room, kind of.
You just wouldn't be able to do it to know a way, and
it opens your mind.
Exactly, and I learned about Notepad LM this morning. Today, wrote LM, notebook.
Soon to be pad, probably.
And it's honestly to hear the quality of the output that it put it to, and the fact that it democratizes so much heavy information, and makes it much more accessible.
It's a really easy listen, because you're listening to a podcast about 2 people talking about the document that you've just uploaded, and it took 5 minutes to upload. And the document depends on how long the document is, but the 2 documents that was around 30 pages, 35 pages was 11 minutes of a summary. And you're thinking, well,
listening to it, you're consuming that information. And actually we touched on it. The listener now, or the person, you can choose on what you're listening to. You mentioned there's lots of content. There might be an interview with someone that you might respect. You might listen to that, but you might enjoy or engage about 10 minutes of that episode. You could then choose what you're listening to by...
Just have your documents lined up, and every day, when you find your time and it's like your hour to do what you want, instead of maybe, obviously music is never going to be replaced in my eyes, but 10-15 minutes of an album can be replaced by a podcast that you've uploaded yourself into this document. It's brilliant.
And you have to remember that people learn in different ways. And what Notebook is opening up is this idea that you've got this document that would take hours to read. And now it will consume the entire document. It will read through the entire document in 30 seconds, 15, 20, 30 seconds. It will immediately come up with suggested questions. It will immediately give you options for study guide, briefing guide, frequently asked questions. You can tap on any one of them and this thing will just load up within 10, 15 seconds. It'll give you those answers. The suggested questions will come up. You can tap on one of the suggested questions, give you a nice detailed answer that will then come with references back to the document, and it will be hundreds of references, sentences, words and you can tap on the reference and it will take you to the exact spot in the document. But what about people who don't want to, who prefer to learn by listening? Notebook has given you the option to now listen to this. So, and it's an extraordinary way of doing it. You said it, they sound human.
They
So
really do. They just
it was it's scary.
yeah.
Thank you
it's
for
so
listening
good.
today. I was like, really? Okay, you're welcome.
But even the fact that, you know, if you're looking at what you've just described in terms of the recommended questions, the notes, the discussion points, that would be something that someone would have prepared for a higher level exec before they do a presentation on the subject. So it makes you wonder the impact for academia, universities and learning, but that's another episode. I don't want to.
It's another season.
It's another season completely because
Yeah.
the impact
It's
wild that in 2 years we've got from a ChatGPT to a notebook LM.
I've even seen actually an
Yeah.
interview of somebody that has just done a video interview. The person's been talking, and the words are, and you're thinking the lip read is not quite the sound and the lips are not quite the same. And they're saying that person doesn't know how to speak English. They've just translated everything, and that person is talking in a different language. And so it doesn't. So, for example, this podcast could be done in French. And we would be talking the same, and the sounds would be, our voices would be exactly the same, but we'd be talking French.
It's an experiment. I would like to experiment
You
with
do that?
We've done it.
I've seen the videos. It's in Italian.
Right. So we've got a digital course called the BD Breakthrough Blueprint, and it's kind of 7.5 hours of all the things that lawyers need to learn about how to become a rainmaker. And we'd always talked about, you know, wanting to go into different markets, you know, with different languages, but getting different people in to then have to dub 7.5 hours of footage and translate the resources, it just didn't seem to make sense. And then because we're doing all this work on AI, we came across a product called HeyGen, and what it does is it will not only so we took a clip, 30-second clip, and we uploaded it into HeyGen, and we said translate it into Italian. So it not only dubbed it in my voice.
Yeah.
And then it actually changed my lip movements. So I was all of a sudden not only I was talking Italian. We sent it to some Italian contacts that we knew, and they said, that is pretty darn good. You can tell that you are not a native speaker, but that is damn good enough
To get away with it.
for it to look like you've gone to the real effort of doing this for an Italian market. Mm-hmm. And what that has opened us up to are the opportunities to sell this globally into markets that we probably wouldn't have gotten to.
Yeah, this is the same. I mean, OTWO magazine, we want to go for different versions of different languages. I mean, right now it's bilingual, it's Spanish, English. We want to go for German English. We want to go to Portuguese English. We want to go for Japanese English. But I do say, find yourself a good person that knows, like you've checked it. I have a person in Germany, got a person in Japan, I got a just double check your work, because I mean, then suddenly you'll have a magazine that's printed out and it doesn't really, the translation isn't the best. So you do always need to have that human touch and that edit.
I think I'm into that. I think it brings me on to kind of the fears, I guess, or some of the ethics around it. Now, we talked about using AI and various different tools as that. What you described is amazing, because you just go, what do you mean I can be speaking Italian?
Yeah.
To and seem as fluid. The reality is that has probably taken some translators kind of time, job, opportunity at the end of the day. How do you balance that? Because I know you're starting out, like, how do you use it as a tool? What are your ethics around it?
For me, it's the translation has helped me out so much. I mean, I do have my magazine designer is Spanish, so he translates the English to me and I translate the Spanish to him, and he reads the things. But it's instant. Yeah. Whereas before I used to use maybe tools like Fiverr, and I used to use a freelancer translator. I used to use different sorts of people to be able to help me out with that, and take its turnaround time of 2 to 3 days. And you don't know what kind of tools they're using either, because at the end of the day, you hope that it's them doing it. But it's given you the ownership of being able to do your own work and make your own turnaround times even quicker and when you need it. So it's helped out so much in that way. I mean, it's a lot. So, I mean, it's very helpful. It's a very helpful tool. And again, it alleviates my time. Magazines can go out a lot quicker. And
Are you feeling your bottom line? Okay, so talking back to being able to save time on certain tasks, are you finding then that that's working in a positive way for your business or your...
Completely. I mean, I can open up myself up a lot more. I mean, I can give a lot more time for the events. I can give a lot more time. Now we're going to start with the printed versions, the distribution network that I need to open up, the conversations I need to have with people. All of that time would have been, hold on, I need to write a magazine, I need to do the magazine, I need to edit the magazine, I need to do it. Whereas now, the research that I'm doing, again, these documents that I'm uploading and listening to, is opening up my mind to a lot more articles that I know. Whereas before I used to wait to see, hold on, what can I write about? What can I see? What kind of advancements are they doing in other places? The information is right there now.
Yeah.
So it gives me that sort of scope, it gives me that freedom that I've got. So, but we have to be very careful with editing and journalism and all these things, because the human touch and the human perception of stuff cannot be lost in that. It's very easy when you're writing a contract. Contracts are very basic and factual, and they need to be what they need to be. But when you're writing an article, that human aspect, that feel that you would get, you need to portray that. You can't just say, ChatGPT, and he'll know. He won't know. If you won't tell it, he won't know.
Absolutely. I think if it is central to your business model, or it is something about your flair or your approach to your job, then it can't. You choose for it to support. But I mean, I liked your example of how you've taken on those more tedious tasks like reading, researching, or time-consuming, not so necessarily tedious, so you can focus on quality relationships with your clients.
Exactly. I mean, it does open up a lot more scope in that way, and you can open up your horizons in so much more ways. I mean, for example, press releases, things like that. I've noticed now, because we've done, for example, EcoFest, we've done it we're going to go for the 4th year now. ChatGPT knows all about EcoFest, because we've been asking, and it's been doing little write-ups here and there. It knows all about it. So now when I go for, all right, write me maybe a press release on, EcoFest, the 4th one. And it's like, it's grown with it, it's grown with it. It's scary to see it, because you think, wow, the potential. The scariness is the potential that it's got. But again, you can't just take it, all right, just go with it and go live with it. You read it, you nurture it. And I think it's all about that, no? It's about using it as a tool that you can improve your life, make your work easier, so that you got more time to be able to focus on other things that you maybe wouldn't have more time to focus on.
And you're focusing on getting the course out to the world, right?
So another example that came to us sort of late in 23. So we'd been recording the course, but this is such a huge passion project of mine, because I see it so fundamental to the future of the legal profession. It was such a huge passion project, and there were certain bits of the recording where I was so keen to get certain words, phrases, sentences out, that it was creating just so much, just vast amounts of video footage that needed cutting, and it was becoming a bit all over the place. And again, we found an AI product that meant that what I could do is, in those certain sections, I could create a script that I could just read on, I could put, there'd be the camera, and next to that would be my laptop, and I could, so I'm no longer looking at the camera. I'm now looking at my laptop. I could read the script, and then we could upload it to an AI product. And what the AI would do is it would move my eyes from looking at the laptop to looking at the camera.
It feels like it would look a bit freaky, I'm not gonna lie.
I'll show you. I'll show you this thing, because it looks absolutely spot on.
Maybe we'll share it as part of the content in this.
Absolutely. But when you think about that, all of the time that I was spending trying to get these parts right, because it was so fundamental that I'd put so much pressure on myself to get these bits right, because I felt they were so important. The time it was taking to get them out, every sentence or half sentence felt wrong. All of a sudden, I was doing these takes in one go, because all I could do now is just read the script. I would read it in a way, because I'm good like that. I've learned how to read a script and make it sound like I'm not reading the script, but I could do it one take. This product then moves my eyes to the camera, and it now doesn't look as though I'm looking away.
Yeah.
This is productivity we're talking about. We're talking about taking what was becoming hours, days. I was getting really, frankly, it was making me a bit ill. But then just overnight changed it. And what this is all about is use case. It's use cases. AI can be a shiny new tool on the market. People can look at it like that and they can go, oh, I love it but I'm using it really ineffectively, and like so much technology out there that people buy because the guy down the road's got it or the competitor over there's got it, so we need to have it. And it never gets used properly. If you simply start with, okay, where's the gap that we could fill, that we need filling, that
would help you, yeah.
And then you go looking for the things that are going to help fill that. What you will find is, in a lot of cases, it will be automation, it will be another human being, but now more and more these tools are going to be driven by AI. And for someone like me, I'm somebody who, I'm a great procrastinator. So if something needs doing, I want to think about it for half an hour. So if I've got a list of tasks to do in a day for work, and the nature of my position and the nature of our business, I've always got 15 tasks to do a day, and they're not going to take me all day long. I would do one task. I'm very good at prioritizing in that respect, but what happens is I've got 15 tasks that have to get done. So then I sit there and I go, well, what am I going to do first? And I'll sit there for 30 minutes thinking about it. Then I'll get the task done, and I'll look down through the list, and I'll spend another 20 minutes working out what comes second. We then found a product called Motion.
Okay.
And what this does is it syncs up. It's a task and project management tool. And what it does, it syncs up.
What you're going to do in that day, what you're going to achieve.
Oh,
Yes, that's exactly what it does. So it syncs up with my calendar, and I tell it the tasks that need doing. I give it priority. I give it, it's sort of like low, medium, high, must be done immediately. And what it will do is all of those tasks, and I just keep inputting tasks. I've got my decision matrix that tells me when things have got to get done or delegated or scheduled. I will put all of these tasks into this, and I will tell it over the next number of weeks the deadline for these things to get done. And then what it will do is it will put them into my calendar.
I can think of a few people that would need that, to be honest.
Right, okay. So this is it, though. This is it. So use case. So we got free 7-day trial of it for the entire team, and everyone used it for 7 days, and everyone came back and went, yeah, it's great, but really and truly, I'm pretty good at doing my work without needing this. Yeah. I, on the other hand, became some kind of productivity ninja. All of a sudden, I was just cracking through work at a pace that I had never gotten through work before.
Depends the person.
And right.
Yeah. And I think this is it. I think because while you were describing that was giving me all sorts of effects where I say, I am pretty organized. I write everything down. I'm good at organizing that. And that was a bit overwhelming. And I use AI. If someone was just starting out, and I think coming to you, Vanessa, like you have been using it in your business, but you're by no means an expert, neither am I. What would be your advice for someone to start if they didn't know where to start? How overwhelming?
I think we were talking about this before. I think the starting point is ChatGPT. I think just start using it if you're interested in doing it. If you find that in your work, you would be a bit more productive in that sense. It would help you, lessen your time in something that you might be able to use in something else. Then go for it. Use ChatGPT and see how it goes. I think that's the best way to start. And then from there, you'll start using the notebook LM. And then, I'm loving that. Right now, that for me is the best thing, because my time I haven't got that much free time. So for me, it's a complete,
Wow. And finding out what works for you, I think. For me, it's almost when you open ChatGPT, you ask it certain questions and actually help it almost like a junior in your team. which ultimately will become the boss, I think.
Well,
Thank you for your time. It's been amazing, fascinating. There's so much more that we could kind of always talk about. And I'm keen on watching this video of your eyes for sure. So if we can try and get it for our viewers and listeners to watch. Thank you. And yeah, I think the best summary that we can summarize it is take it at your own pace, use it as a tool, always keep the human touch. And if it feels unethical or wrong, or you want to maintain that touch, then listen to your gut as well. And
definitely.
thank you for watching and listening, and we'll catch up with you on our next episode.